two things, God and the Cats.
It's here. Luke. Well, I'm lying. It's almost here, but I like to think it is here because football season is literally just days away. Welcome, everyone, to Sam Houston Sports Talk. I'm Colin Neal. That's Luke Scott. And you might have noticed a brand new look to our podcast screen. Luke is now acting crazy in the south end zone. I'm on the north end zone of Bauer Stadium. Unfortunately, though, while Sam Houston may not play, or may not, they won't be playing there this year. You can at least see it in our background now. Hope y'all enjoy the new look for this year. It'll change every now and then. But Luke, new season. Sometimes we also have to bring in some new stuff. You excited? I'm ready to get going, honestly.
The dog days of the off season are pretty much over, Colin. We're ready to get started. It's been a long stretch between we've seen the Cats play. Colin, the last time we saw this team play, we were coming back from New Orleans, and
Yeah.
we were having a great time. And it quickly went off the rails after that. But we're back. We're back in football season. This is the best time to ramp back up into the season, see the Cats play. Hashtag two things, of course. We're ready. We're ready to get back going, Colin. You're excited. I'm excited. We both got on our Sam Houston hats. I'm pretty pumped.
Well, they do not have an easy task to begin 2025, Luke. They will be going to Bowling Green, Kentucky to take on the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky. A week 0 matchup. A day that honestly has some other great matchups, but this game might be, for a lot of people that are interested in the group of 5 or the group of 6, whichever one it is. Excuse me, but 6 p.m. Central Time on CBS Sports Network, so it's going to be on national TV in front of a good amount of audiences. Luke, just kind of the optics heading into this. If you were telling me about, let's say, November, when Keeler left, and a lot of your almost your whole defense left, your defensive coordinator left along with all the defensive staff, and you went up to me and told me like, "Hey, Colin, we're going to be going up against Western Kentucky in week 0," and I would feel so devastated. I'm like, well, I can already go ahead and just chalk it up as a rough start to the year next year, 2025 in this instance. But with all the things that happened between then, and y'all can go ahead and look at what I've said before on the offense, defense, and special teams previews, which are on our YouTube page. You can go ahead and go check those out if you haven't already to get yourself familiar with all 3 phases of the ball on this team. But now I feel a little bit more optimistic. Now, not saying that Sam Houston's going to go in there and win by a couple touchdowns. It's going to be I think it's going to be a close game overall, and we'll get more into it later, but this is such a tough first task for Phil Longo and his staff.
It really is, and we'll get down more in breakdown of kind of the preview of the game and whatnot. But yeah, it's a really tough ask. First of all, you don't return many players from last year. A ton of portal guys, a ton of guys from high school. First year head coach here at Sam Houston, an entire new staff pretty much. And the first game is a week 0, so a shortened off season road game in conference against one of the premier teams in your conference, right? I would say Western Kentucky, Liberty, and I guess you could maybe start to throw Sam Houston maybe in that conversation, even though it's super early. But Western Kentucky is definitely, the premier, one of the premier schools in the Conference USA, and that being your first start, your first test as the next head coach Sam Houston, that's a tough one. So I do not envy head coach Phil Longo's position, but some encouraging words in the press conference, and I think Sam Houston's come out of this camp well enough, relatively healthy. when you look at the entire scope of college football, and pros, I guess too. You see some guys go down early. Sam Houston, knock on wood, has been relatively healthy comparative. So I think we're in a solid spot for what the schedule brings.
Yeah, let's go ahead and kind of look at the schedule real quick. I mean, just kind of to get everyone familiar with everything. First, you start off with Western Kentucky, and then you come back home to Huntsville to get ready for a Friday night showdown against UNLV, led by Dan Mullen. And UNLV is getting a lot of praise this year. I'm kind of surprised about the praise that they are getting, mainly because they lost a good amount of the coaching staff. They lost some players. One part that I think not a lot of people are mentioning too much or even take into account a lot is they lost their offensive coordinator, Brent Marion, who ran that go offense, that combined a lot of styles of offense, and it was very explosive. It was high flying. I mean, they gave Boise State a run for their money in the Mountain West Championship in 2024. So I don't that game might be another close one too. Because it's also home at Shell Energy Stadium where the Bearkats will be playing their home games in 2025. Then you're gonna take a week off, and then you're gonna go to Hawaii. You're gonna go on the road to face the Rainbow Warriors, who have a high powered run and shoot offense led by some of the best wide receivers in the country, such as Ashlock, who we saw last year in Bowers. Then you take another week off, or no, you don't. Actually, they go to Hawaii the next week after. Then they take the week off to rest themselves from that travel. Then they go to Austin, Texas to face the Longhorns, who are the number one ranked team in the nation. Just kind of let's talk about the first quarter of that schedule, Luke, because I think those first four games are where Longo and his staff are going to still have to try to iron things out and see what works best for the team heading it into those to the rest of those 8 games. Usually, the first 4 games you can get a really good idea on how a team could do in a season.
Yeah, especially being tested like that. Western Kentucky, obviously, tough spot. Being that first game in conference, but then I mean, UNLV kind of seems to be one of the darlings of the G5 playoff bid like picks. I've seen quite a few people look at UNLV and think, hey, maybe that's a good shot. I think part of that is Dan Mullen. Obviously, Dan Mullen was one of the great coaches in college football. It's surprising that he was out of a job for so long,
Yeah.
considering what he was able to do, um, at Mississippi State and at Florida. Um, and now he's at UNLV. They got a couple. I mean, they obviously a couple of transfer quarterbacks. Calandria, he was from Virginia Tech, I want to say, or Virginia. It was an ACC school. I want to say, no, I think it was Virginia. And Alex Orji from Michigan. He couldn't throw a forward pass, but he was really fast. Um, so they're obviously like one of the more fun picks. Kind of going into the season, that'll be an interesting game. Hawaii, yeah, Hawaii's an interesting one because we took care of Hawaii, pretty easily at home last time, and this one's going to be at in Honolulu, right? So a late night for the Bearcats out there in Paradise,
11
and of
p.m.
course, then you have Texas.
Texas night
So
game. Whew.
I will be the first to admit it. I do not think Sam Houston will beat the University of Texas.
Uh, I mean, I mean, literally, I think ESPN FPI has like Sam Houston's like a 1% chance or something, maybe even a less than 1% chance. Taking on
It,
number one Texas 7 p.m. at night inside DKR. The week before
although I will
Texas
say
faced us, though, is they faced another Conference USA Texas opponent in UTEP. So maybe UTEP can soften them up for us for a little bit.
I will say Texas has not dealt with their non-conference. um, especially the G5 teams in the most dominant fashion. It's usually Texas hasn't played their A game against the G5 teams, so I don't know if that's them just kind of playing down. Of course, they also beat Michigan to a pulp last year
Yeah.
in the Big House,
Yeah.
so that one will be tough. That's a 1.6% chance to win, according to ESPN. So 1.4. I'm sorry. So give us some credit there, Colin.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, the thing is, Texas against those G5s, and Texas A&M is the same thing as well against G5s. Like they'll dominate, but then sometimes it's just like playing down the competition. Like it's weird. It is strange indeed. And then we go into the bulk of Conference USA play. You're at New Mexico State. You're in Las Cruces. That's an 8 p.m. kickoff. You come back home for 2 straight games at Shell Energy to face Jack State, and you're going to face UTEP for the last time before they pack their bags to the Mountain West. And then you go on 2 straight road games, one conference game, October 31st, homecoming Halloween night against Louisiana Tech on a Friday night, 7 p.m. And then November 8th, you go to Corvallis, Oregon to take on the Beavers of Oregon State. That's a 9 p.m. kickoff. And then on November 15th, my birthday, they face the Delaware Blue Hens led by former offensive coordinator Ryan Carty. And then they go to Murfreesboro to face Middle Tennessee. And then they end their season November 29th, 2025 against the FIU Panthers. And it's an interesting year. It is interesting to say the least how this schedule, because it looks very tough to begin, but then it looks like Sam Houston could pick up a couple of wins at the end of the year, which could mean the difference between them getting a bowl game in Longo's first season to missing out on a bowl game. And the thing is, you said it. I don't envy Longo one bit. He has a tough job. They didn't have a lot of time in the transfer portal. But you know one thing, the depth's going to get tested, but it seems like a lot of the talent that they brought in, top heavy, are pretty talented, especially on that defensive end. I will say that defense is going to look much better than I think we're anticipating. For just a small feeling in me is feeling that for some reason, and maybe that's just the fan alum in me that wants to be optimistic about it.
Yeah, I think there is some definite what would you call a reason to be excited about that side of the ball. Maybe it's anticipation. Maybe it is just hope. I don't really know. The unknown is a little bit scary, but also kind of what we've heard out of camp and what you've seen and what Longo has said. It sounds like they seem relatively comfortable with that side of the ball and of what they've seen. So yeah, there is some place to be worried, but I think you are like you're rightfully justified for saying, hey, like I think we might be discounting this side of the ball. It's hard to, put like a price tag on that side just because there's just so many new guys we just don't know, right? I mean, it's a completely different unit. Whereas on the offensive side, there's some continuity or continuality, whatever the word is,
Continuity.
from last year. Continuity. That is the word, Colin.
It is
You
a
are
word.
smart. I am not. So yeah,
Are we really that smart if we want to spend our Saturdays on a couch watching football? Does that make us smart or does that make us stupid? And honestly, now that I think about it, it depends on who you ask.
it does, man. It does depend on who you ask. For instance, if you were to ask uh, a person that does not care about ball at all, they would say you should be put in an insane asylum. But then you ask us, and we're like, yeah, like we like watching football. Like we like the finer things in life, Colin. We are true uh, artisans when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back for this next segment, I want to talk about the opposing side, Western Kentucky. They brought in an exciting, not young, but an exciting quarterback nonetheless in Maverick MacGyver. What does he bring to the table? And also, what's this one area of Western Kentucky might win them the game if it comes down to the wire? What is that side of the ball I'm talking about? Well, I'll tell you when we'll talk about it next here on Sam Houston Sports Talk. Football. 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 I'm channeling in my inner Scott Hansen from NFL Red Zone with the football. Because again, as we are back here on Sam Houston Sports, calling you Luke Scott on the north end zone. It's just something. It's just something about this time of year. Luke, you know how big I'm a big Astros guy, right? You know I am. But when it comes time
I do know.
when it comes time to this though, I just don't really care as much about the Astros. I just care about the Cats, baby. The Cats. It's just something about it's just something. Luke. I don't really know how to explain it really. I don't know if you feel the same, but you know.
Well, you might just care about the Cats. I care about two things. Hashtag two things.
Oh, what are the two things?
It's God and the Cats.
God and the
Has to
Cats.
be. Has to be.
Yeah,
No, Colin, you're right. You're channeling your inner Chris Hansen. I mean, Scott Hansen.
easy. Hey, this isn't that kind of show. I see what you did there, though.
Not that.
They have to be related.
No,
I mean they have to be related some way, right? Like distant
they are
cousins.
related.
They
They
are.
are related. No, they're brothers.
You're. I'm looking it up on my phone now. You think you're lying? Yeah, I see that smile right there. You're lying to me. Yeah, you're lying to me. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the enemy. Western Kentucky. Luke, we were discussing in the middle of the break between segments. Um, you know, Western Kentucky is quite a dangerous opponent, and they play decently, really well actually at home, and they have one of the best mascots in college football in Big Red, as we all know as well. Bowling Green, Kentucky is a nice town. I've been there. I went there in 2023 when Sam Houston first faced the Hilltoppers. Nice town, I will say. Nice town. I want to go back there. I wish I could go up there this year, but I can't, unfortunately. I don't have the financial capabilities, you could say. But anyway, led by Tyson Helton, Luke, they are if you're not going to say that they're good, if I mean that's your opinion, they're at least a very respectable program, and Tyson Helton has built something there. And if I remember correctly, there were rumors going around that Helton was possibly leaving for a power job. I think if I remember correctly, he was linked to the Purdue job, which then I guess came out to really be nothing. I guess there was interest. Someone in the comments can correct me, but he's back and good for WKU, honestly, because there's a lot of room for that program to develop. And it's just this year is very interesting because they're bringing in a transfer quarterback, a new offensive coordinator. And Luke, I'm going to let you talk about it. They're replacing a lot more than people think.
They are. Yeah, they lost a ton of their weapons and the depth in that receiver position. Lost a ton of production. They return only, I believe it is KD Hutchinson that saw like a solid amount of action last year. But all of the returners, they're all portal guys. I believe notably Matthew Henry. He's a Western Illinois guy. He came through the portal. So obviously there's some question marks on that side as well. Maverick McIver. what a name, a Texas guy too, was in San Angelo and then went to Abilene Christian. Obviously, he put up a ton of stats out there, and West Kentucky is replacing Veltkamp, who I don't think he played. We played Veltkamp last year, did we?
Yes, we did in that game that
We
Hunter
did.
Watson got lost, or not lost, got hurt.
He got hurt. That's right, he did. Um, yeah, so there's a ton of question marks on there on that offensive side too. And the defense last year, West Kentucky, um, it was okay. I think some games they played very well, and some games they didn't. I think we saw kind of one of their better outings when they played Sam Houston at home last year. Of course, some injuries were very present in that game as well on the Sam Houston side, to say the least. Um, I just think there's a ton of unknown going into this game. I think the 10.5, Colin, is an interesting number. We'll go into more of that later, but yeah, there's not a ton of known, at least on the it's kind of like the inverse of Sam Houston, where they returned a lot of their defense, who was kind of up and down last year, just like Sam Houston's offense, and their offense last year was very good, right? And it's a lot of new production on that side, whereas our defense, last year was what their offense is. So it's kind of the polar opposites when you think of it coming into this season.
So I'm looking up. I did some research, and I found an article by collegefootballnews.com. You're probably looking at the same thing I am as well, but they talk about the defense of Western Kentucky. Last year, it was ninth in the nation in pass defense. However, that was mainly because the teams ran at will against them on the ground, because that front six, front seven was not good last year. You saw what Jack State did to them in the Conference USA Championship game, absolutely killing that defense. Tyler Huff, Rich Rod, and Jack State. So, they bring in a guy, Kenan Lofton from JUCO. This article is talking about how he should be the team's leading tackler. I've heard of his name and a couple of other guys as well. It's and the thing is, though, if that stuff still rings true about the defense, Luke, we're probably going to see Longo run the football more than pass the ball. And if Hunter Watson goes out there and is the starting quarterback, it just amplifies that a little bit more. Because I talked to Ryan Anderson a little bit before we went on the other today, a little bit before when we were talking about the depth chart, which we will get to as well later, because some people want us to talk about it, and we're going to hear from y'all as well from X. Longo's offense is like yes, no, yes, and no. Like, is it there? Yes, bam, go ahead. Throw the receivers in open spaces. I don't know for sure if the quarterbacks are given the option to audible out of a pass play if they don't like what they see and they want to go ahead and run the football, which it remains to be seen. I wonder how much trust Longo's going to put into Watson and or Matoyer. This Western Kentucky defense, though, isn't the thing that scares me a lot. It's the offense, Luke. And I'll talk about another thing about Western Kentucky, which I teased at the end of the last segment. They bring in a guy by the name of Maverick McGiver, Abilene Christian quarterback. If you want to find out what this guy is made of, I want you to go find Abilene Christian versus Texas Tech last year in 2024, a 52-51 overtime loss to the Red Raiders. But Maverick McGiver was absolutely shooting on all cylinders, over 500 yards passing in that game against a Big 12 school. Now, we all know Texas Tech is always very weird and finicky program as a whole. Well, now they're paying their roster ungodly amounts of money. But that's not what we're here to talk about. And then you look through MacGyver's year. He was just consistently named to be an All-American. And then goes to Western Kentucky. Helton also brings Rick Bowie, MacGyver's offense coordinator and quarterbacks coach. I mean, that's just truly the X factor of this offense. I mean, a gunslinger, really, with the most 80s name I've ever seen.
It will be interesting to see how it translates, Colin, because we have seen guys from the FCS level tear it up, right? Coming in here and just tear it up. And then we've also seen the duds, right? The guys that they don't pan out. Maverick McIver is I think he's gonna be really good. I think he's gonna be fine. I think it's also a tough spot for him to come in his first game in a week 0 type scenario. At least he's at home, unlike us. But there is some definite worry about this guy. I mean, uh, obviously, there's going to be some familiarity with the coaching staff, bringing his guy from Abilene now out to Bowling Green. But I'll also like the, I think the continuity will be there. There's that word again that came up. I think it'll be there a little bit for McIver, and this is a guy that Abilene Christian asked him to do a lot, and he delivered on it, right? And so I think he understands the pressure of what this could mean. Um, yeah, it's definitely a worrisome person, but it's also like as a college football fan, Colin, like we're both excited just to see like what this guy will bring and what he'll look like right at this level.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, as a college football fan, I'm excited to see. But as a Sam Houston person, nope, I'm not. I mean, you already mentioned some weapons that he'll have. It's just if he had a lot of the weapons from last year, I would be much, 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 much more worried about it. But you got a guy like Matthew Henry coming in from Western Illinois, like you mentioned, and the running back room seems to be solid, led by Lavelle Wright. The one part of this WKU team that could mean the difference if it is a close game, it's going to be their special teams. They have one of the best special team units in the country projected heading into the 2025 season. And projections are projections at the end of the day. They could mean absolutely nothing, even after week 0. Like, okay, well, all of a sudden now the outlook's changed. But they bring in Cole Maynard, a punter's name. He's a name that I've been hearing quite a lot outside of, outside of people looking and analyzing Conference USA. He's probably going to be a problem when it comes to that kind of side of the ball. And
Ray Guy Award watch list guy.
yeah, but the thing is,
I think it's a preseason watch list, which is kind of funny, but
the thing is though, you're not going to be named one of the best special team units in the country because you have a good kicker or because you have a good punter. That means you also have guys that are typically depth pieces on offense or defense that can come in and perform their task on special teams. Be that gunner, be the guy on the, in on the trenches on punts, trying to go and block, like I said, gunner on the outside, or even the returns games. I'm kind of worried about that facet of the game because it's like Sam Houston is as a whole. We don't know what's going on in the special teams. We don't even know who our kicker is. And the depth chart says Christian Bavon. And do you believe that, Luke? Because it also says he's all punter. I mean, there's a lot of things on that depth chart that makes you not believe anything. And we'll get to that in a little bit in the next segment once we get done talking about WKU. I'm worried. Am I crazy to think that am I crazy to worry about that phase of the game?
No, Colin, you're not worried. I mean, you're not crazy to be worried about special teams. Colin, we were on pins and needles last year every kickoff after we'd score a touchdown or a field goal. We were just hoping that we could keep it, within the two big white sidelines going down the field. Colin, no, like you said, I mean, projections are projections, right? I mean, they are what they are. But projections are, they're for a reason, right? There's also some substance to them, I would think. And special teams, like you say, or like I say, Colin, you know, they might not win you every game, but they could lose you every game quickly. And this is a team led by a coach that they're not going to beat themselves. Like West Kentucky is too good of a program where they beat themselves, unlike some others that we will see down the road. Um, I think you're completely justified in being worried about that side of the ball.
Some other names to look out for, especially on the defensive side of Western Kentucky: Machiavelli Malatumau, defensive tackle, transfer from I want to say it's NC
Nevada.
State, Nevada. No, it's NC State. And then yeah, it's the Wolfpack. He was there for 2 years. Wait, hold on. The former Nevada isn't massive. That's the hope after making a sack in 2 years for the Wolfpack. So okay, so he had to be Wolfpack. That's a very weird way of putting things. You call him the former Nevada tackle, and then you say that that's the hope after making those statistics in 2 years for the Wolfpack. Either way, that's a guy. That's an interior guy to look out for. And then they bring up a 305-pound Norfolk State transfer, Eric Etienne. He's been getting a lot of attention from the media of up there in Bowling Green. They have some experience up front, but they also lost one of their best interior guys in Hosea Wheeler, what this article labels as the top transfer that's out. They also have a very interesting schedule, but we're not going to talk about it. The one thing that you should know is that Western Kentucky is a pretty good program, and they have been for years. And they got close last year, Luke, to a Conference USA championship. They literally got in to the game by a field goal, and that field goal also kept Sam Houston out of the Conference USA championship against Jack State. And since we're here now, Luke, I wholeheartedly believe if Sam Houston played Jack State with a bit of a healthier Hunter Watson of what we know about them and playing them a few weeks before, I feel like that Sam Houston could have beat Jack State and won the Conference USA championship. But that's just me. Any final words on this week's opponent, Western Kentucky, to begin the season?
No, I think it is quite the interesting first matchup of the season. I mean, it's a week 0 conference game. Like, you just don't see that really that often. But now it's like becoming more of a thing. But no, I think it's gonna be a great test for Phil Longo, great test for this new roster. I think the experience factor will help us a little bit with Hunter Watson. We think going to start, and obviously like a ton of returning, depth on the offensive side, and your returning weapons and your O line. Um, I think that will help in the first half or so. I think as the game will go on, I think maybe you see West Kentucky grow into it a little bit more. Um, but I think on their side of the ball, when West Kentucky has the ball, I think Sam Houston is going to be looking to get after McIver, make him uncomfortable, because if he's able just to sit in the pocket all day, like he's gonna have a big day. Like he just will. But I
Yeah,
think if we can get after him a little bit, I think we'll be fine.
I think that's going to be a big key as well. And we'll get to our keys to this game later on in this preview podcast. It's pod 58 of Sam Houston Sports Talk. We previewed the 2025 season looking at the schedule earlier, and we just broke down the opponent in Western Kentucky a bit. A very intriguing team, that's for sure. And of course, that's the team that Sam Houston is going to face in week 0 to begin this season. Coming up next, what the hell was that depth chart? Let's talk about it next. All right, welcome back to Sam Houston Sports Talk. If you have not already, folks, listen, it's a long season, okay? And football season is a time in our lives when things get busy. Kids go back to school. Work's picking up a little bit. A lot of things. And there's also a lot of other sports going on. NFL will be starting up before you know it. And so if you're a Bearcat fan or you're a college football fan, you need a place. You need to know everything about, Bearcats as a whole, not just football. I'm talking about men's basketball, women's basketball, soccer, volleyball, softball, baseball. When those sports come around, maybe you should go down in the description real quick. Click that little arrow, whatever it is, and follow all of our social media accounts. Listen, we're on X/Twitter. We have an Instagram. We have a Facebook, and we also have a YouTube page. And since you're already here on this YouTube page, if you haven't already, be sure you subscribe today to your home for all the Bearcat talk. Luke, let's talk about. I never even thought we were gonna make a whole segment about depth chart in my life. A 2-deep depth chart, as a matter of fact. But the 2-deep depth chart came out with the game notes today from Sam Houston. This is one of the greatest troll jobs I've ever seen in my life.
I think it's entirely accurate, Mr. Colin Neal. Also, first episode of the football season already had to make an audible because the AirPods were dying, so I had to go to the trusty headset.
Alert! Alert!
That's what good coaches do. Had to check it down.
Now, I'm not saying this is. Let me just preface this real quick. I'm not saying it's a troll job, as in like a knock on these players. I am not knocking on players or anything like that. Let's just be really quick. But Luke, in all seriousness, you look at the depth chart and you just see plenty wrong with it. Okay?
Do you?
Let me know something real quick. Antavius Fish is a backup, according to this 2D. But in the notes, he's labeled as the defensive signal caller. I don't that doesn't make any sense. Look, I mean, am I crazy to think that doesn't make any sense? But let me give you some other things real quick.
Colin. I mean, the defensive coordinator will call in the plays and he will signal it from the sideline. I think that's what that means.
To
Colin.
the player that's on the sideline.
To the starters.
Well,
no, he's just looking up at the press box. He gets the call and then he signals it.
You also have Keelan Cox as a backup as well. That doesn't make any sense. Then you move on. You move on. You're looking around. Isaac Sohn is listed as a left tackle, which I think that's not really. Because all the film I've watched on Isaac Sohn, I've seen him as a guard or on the interior. But I could be wrong. Maybe he's all of a sudden a left tackle. In all seriousness, no, he might be a left tackle now, or just a tackle in general. Keep looking around. Then you have a wide receiver part. You have Michael Phoenix II as the starter, and then Quaviz Humphreys is right behind him. You tell me that Quaviz Humphreys is not a starter? He's going to be a backup X? I don't think so, in my opinion. And then you go to the running back room. You have Lando Coco Brown and Jarian Parker in there. I like Jarian Parker quite a lot, and I heard great things about landing Coco Brown. Where's Elijah Green? Where's Shane Porter? Or those other guys that have been highly praised they brought in. Let's go back to the defense as well real quick before I want to hear your thoughts. Where's two-time All-MAC defensive backs CJ Brown? He's not on here, Luke. He's not. He's not on the defense side of things. There's a lot of guys that are not on there on the defense side of things that should be, in my mind, starters. I don't know. I don't mean to make a big deal about this, by the way. I'm being dramatic for entertainment purposes, but in my mind, I cannot believe some people actually fell for this. Honestly, look, I couldn't believe it. Some people actually fell for this.
Oh, and it sounds like you believe there was a little bit of gamesmanship being played in this one.
Yeah.
And maybe in response to the WKU 2-deep?
That's one of my actually thoughts about how this went. Because if you go to WKU's depth chart, it's not even a depth chart. It's just a more organized roster.
I think that's kind of one of those things in college football that you understand they have to release something, but it's probably going to be altered a slight bit, as you could say.
Slight.
I thought Hunter Watson was going to come to this as a receiver. Actually, not just kidding. No, I think it's part of the game. I think it's a coach that doesn't want to give much away. I think it's coordinators and players, maybe listed in some different spots, calling it. And you've already, you've said it, right? You've said like, okay, what about this guy? What about that guy? Do you really think Quavis Humphreys is not going to start? You really think he's going to be behind Michael Phoenix? Nope. I think he's going to be beside Michael Phoenix. But it's just kind of one of those things. It is fun to see like it being released, and it does like it puts a sit in the air, Colin. When you see a 2 deep, you're like, oh, I gotta look at this. I gotta see it. I gotta dissect it. And every time, it's always like it's not right. They never are. But because at the end of the day, it's just a 2 deep. How many times did we say that last year, Colin? We said that a ton last year.
Yes, we did.
It's back, and we love it that way. We really do. One thing I did not know. Mature is 6'5", Colin. I did not know that.
Yeah, 6'5". Yeah,
I knew he was big, but I didn't know 6'5".
and the one thing
6'7", but
the one thing that I was questioning about Matoyer when he first came up was how skinny he was. I thought and this might be, people might hear me say this, be like, "Oh, you're just being a little bit too picky." Like, no, as a quarterback, you do need to pack on some muscle to eventually take those big hits that you're going to take, and especially if you're going to be running the football on your own. But 225, 6'5", 225, really, really impressive in my opinion of what he's done to physically change his body. And
I know,
yeah,
no, you're right. And to kind of get back to what I was saying, I know Tyler Bailey is a friend of the program, but starting free safety, I did not know that was what Tyler Bailey was going to be playing. And also the 6 specialists we have listed between the kickers and punters. I do not think we will be seeing 3 kickers and 3 punters in the first game of the year. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I can bet on that.
The fact that Otto Benelli has never been ever listed as a punter on the roster, and the only listed punters on the roster are Pavana and Durand. If you go look on GoBearkats.com. Yeah, well, whatever. It's just a 2 deep, but the reaction was hilarious to it. That's for sure. The reaction was absolutely hilarious. That's for sure. All right, that's just a little side segment I want to do. When we come back, though, we are gonna wrap things up, give our final thoughts on Western Kentucky versus Sam Houston, and our keys to the Bearkats coming out of week 0 with a win. We'll do that next here on Sam Houston Sports Talk. Well, to start this final segment of Pod 58 of Sam Houston Sports Talk, we looked over the season preview. We talked about Western Kentucky. Then we went over the craziness that happened with the depth charts. And now we are going to give our final thoughts. Before we begin that, Luke, I got some news. I got some great news, as a matter of fact. Sam Houston Sports Talk YouTube has reached 250 subscribers, baby. Let's freaking go. That is awesome to see. We hit 100 subscribers right on the day that the Rice game happened. And that was freaking exciting. And this is freaking exciting too. We are a quarter of the way to 1,000 subscribers. And I just want to say thank you all so much. That just gets me more hype for the season.
Oh, it's incredible. Obviously, you do, I would say, 99% of the work when it comes to this channel. You are the glue.
That is too generous, Luke. That is way too generous.
That's not true. That's the fact. I came up with the logo, and I come on every week. That's about it. Colin, you do most of everything. Shout out to you, Colin. Hey, and of course, shout out to the subscribers. And that is one thing that we can say. Like, we do a great job, I think, of making sure it's the most organic type growth as possible. State, we do not want the bots. Leave the bots for Texas State and UTEP. That is not for us. We like the real deal. We like the real people. We like the real, the what you would call the fans, the support, the feedback, the trolls. We love them. We love them all. Even you burners. Even you cats on top.
I don't think Cats on Top has ever forgiven you, by the way.
What do you mean?
Remember how you were basically you didn't draft him in your top list of burner accounts?
No, he wasn't even in. He wasn't even in. He wasn't even on the draft board. Colin.
Yes,
Speaking of the fantasy draft,
To me, it was. But anyway. All right. And it is the fact that it's crazy as well. We hit that milestone. We also, a few weeks ago, hit the 1,000 follower mark on X and X Twitter as well. But overall, thank you all very much. And if you still haven't already, please give us a like, give us a subscription, follow us on all of our social media platforms. We would greatly appreciate it to keep this platform growing and reach more Bearcats that are out there that may not know that this podcast exists. All right. So before we actually give our final thoughts on Western Kentucky, I want to know what the people are saying, Luke. Let's go ahead and get this one right here from our good old friend Rod Slick. He says, "I see this as the beginning of the end of the worst calendar year for the big three sports at Sam in decades. Only saving grace is they play in the talent deprived conference USA." So, beginning of the end of the worst calendar year for the big three sports at Sam in decades. So is it the B? I'm kind of confused though. Is that the B? Because it feels like you're saying two completely different things in the same sentence. I don't know. Look, I don't know if you're looking at it right now or not. How are you interpreting that?
I believe what Rod Slick is saying is that he does not think anything will come of any good of this season, even being in the Conference USA, being so talent deprived, as he so kindly puts it.
Okay. Let's go to the next one. Our other good friend, NBA Sam Boy at Samville936. Cats by 90, baby. I only care about two things. We all know what those are: God and the Cats. I appreciate you, NBA Sam Boy, for contributing to the conversation. Let's hear from our other good friend in Fobs, Bearcat Bites newsletter. Talk about how impressive it is that Longo's keeping the smoke screen up as far as depth charts. Well, we already talked about it. It's quite hilarious. It's I actually talked to Topper Talk podcast a little bit. You saw Luke, you saw his quote tweet to the depth chart. That was funny. I literally messaged him as a kind of introducing ourselves a little bit. I told him, I was like, hey, it looks like our coaches are having a competition on who can do the best 4D chess, which that's kind of how I put it a little bit.
It's kind of like when you're at the poker table and you have two guys both bluffing at the same time, and you kind of realize both are full of crap.
Sam Squatch at Sam Squatch 1879. I personally think our defense is going to be better than most expect. We don't have as much depth as we desired, but the talent is there if we execute. Execution is interesting because we see these teams, Luke, that spend a lot of money on players, not just in the NFL, but in college nowadays. And yeah, they have the talent, but if they're not executing properly, then that talent is meaningless. So I think and I think we do, hopefully, I hope we do. If the guys on this team, despite what you think about their talent, if they are guys that are executing, they can be just as good as somebody that may be more talented than them. And I've heard of a tidbit that apparently the guys on defense play for Freddie Autry Lindsay. And when I hear players that play for a coach, that's usually a good sign.
This is a good sign. I mean, like we said earlier, like, I think there is some definite room for like excitement with this defense. Yeah, like you see, like the quality of players like we think that's out there and what we've kind of seen and heard. Like there is some like excitement from, and like Coach Longo has talked about, like the guys really stepping up, playing physical. What he's seen on that side of the ball. I think the front seven's going to be just fine. The secondary, I think, is a little bit more worrisome, but
Okay.
I think that's kind of like, is that not like where everyone is really at? Like everyone's going to be worried about their secondary, unless you're Bama or Georgia or Texas or whoever, right? Like you're that's kind of the feeling that I get from this team. The depth chart, has a few guys that I did not think that was going to play or maybe listed or they're out there, but we'll see.
Here's my thing. Here's my thing about the defense. And I'm going to make it clear.
It was a good comment. It was a good comment, by the way.
Yes, it was very good. I'm going to say this about the defense, okay? Listen, I think the reason why maybe we're so pessimistic about the defense is because of how good it was last year. Do you agree or disagree?
I would wholeheartedly agree. I mean, last year, that defensive unit, I would say, was a top 20 unit in the country. They were that good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Power 5 guys all throughout that team. I believe some will go to the NFL draft here pretty soon, or at least sign and play. Like those guys were ridiculous.
And I mentioned that in the defense preview. Like it's unfair on these guys to be compared to last year's team because those guys are much different. I'm not talking talent wise. I'm just talking about personnel in general and what kind of situation they're in. The defense is under pressure this year, especially on the offensive side of the ball, it's an air raid style, a quick tempo offense. And at the end of the day, I think the defense is going to be just fine. Honestly, I don't really think it's going to be that bad. Can it really be that bad? I don't personally think so because you bring experience. Look at who you brought, for example, Antavius Fish and C.J. Brown, and you got Keelan Cox on the outside, and you bring in some athletes, and I mean athletes, which was what you need in a nickel defense, and when you have an air raid offense on your team. Like a Jameer Diaz, like a Brian Spalding on the edge, Zaquee Lawton, who brings experience. He's been in the game for a long time, and you still retain guys. Pretty importantly, like an Iman Allen, who looks much better physically wise, which I'm excited to see what he can do this year. And then I don't know, Luke. Maybe all this time we have been underestimating, but for some reason, a part of me is like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and still feel a little bit pessimistic. But hey, I want to tell those guys, prove us wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove us wrong.
Yeah.
And prove us to not be too worried about y'all. Because we can only analyze what we see. We're not in that locker room. We're not in that field house. We're not in practices. We don't know what's being called or whatever, what kind of stuff they're doing. We're only going by what we can really access.
No, like you're right. You're right. And as a guy that, views the glass half empty, I wish I was a glass half full. I'm not. I'm a glass half empty guy. That's just kind of how I've always seen it. Like being a little bit of a pessimist, like sometimes that sucks being that guy. That's just kind of how I've kind of looked at things. The defense, like that's just kind of how I see it. But there is room for excitement. I mean, you're right, and you talk, and a majority of those guys that you just mentioned, it's going to be involved in that front seven somewhere. You know, either whether they're on the edge, if they're a backer, if they're going to be lining up, in the A gap, if they're a 3 tech, if they're a 5 tech, like you're listing all those guys. The back end is what I'm concerned about, especially in this first round match, or it's not first round. Oh, gosh, first game. Got to get back into football shape, Colin. Got to get back into football shape.
Yeah.
You're talking about in this first game, McIver could throw the ball around, and I think is going to, like, a lot. Like I would assume he's going to have over 30 pass attempts. Like, I just think he's going to throw the ball a ton. That's where I'm more worried, right? But, like, also that gives you some opportunities, right, on the pass rush side, which this team was very good at last year, to get after him. So, you can look at it either way, Colin, but there is room for excitement, like you say. There's definite place, and like I've said before, if we can be in the middle, if we can be in the top 50% of defense, of like total defense, right, in the turn or in the conference, I think we'll be just fine.
One last thing before we give our final thoughts and keys to the game on Saturday. Cats on top. You mentioned him earlier. He says it is probably our biggest conference game of the season. Will be interesting to see how effective this offseason has been, but I am confident. Hashtag Cats by 90.
Biggest conference game in this. That's an interesting. I think I do agree. Do you agree with him, Colin, there? I know we've talked about it a little bit, but
I mean, the fact that you have a chance to set the table early and get out ahead against a favorite to win the conference championship, I'd say absolutely. I 100% agree with Cats on top.
would you say is it only is it the biggest conference game only because we don't have a true home game this year?
Ooh. That's an interesting perspective.
Ooh, a little bit of Big J journalism making a fun appearance here tonight.
You're asking the question. What do you think?
I think it is.
Okay.
I think so. I think if we had like a Jack State, in Huntsville, right, or Liberty in Huntsville, even like Delaware, maybe, being in Huntsville, but obviously, no games are going to be played in Bowers Stadium as it is under construction right now. So,
exactly. Yep.
It's a great point there by Cats on top. Gotta give him props there. I think he's right. I think if we had some games at Bowers, it'd be a little bit different. But also, like, if this game was in Houston, right? If this game is at Shell, is it as big of a deal as it is because it's up in Bowling Green?
I think, yeah.
I don't know.
I think so.
I think it's a bigger deal there than it would be at Shell. You know what I mean?
It would be a much more impressive win if they were to pull it off. Obviously.
That's what I'm thinking. So yeah, it's a great point there by Cats on Top. Props to Cats on Top. Got a little bit of brownie points from Luke Scott there.
All right, it is now time to wind things down here for the first preview pod of the athletics year. Sam Houston versus Western Kentucky. Luke, give me your keys to the game.
Coach. Coach Long has talked about his teams when he was at Sam Houston. They didn't just throw the ball a ton; they ran the ball, and they ran the ball extremely efficient and put up, record numbers right at that time on the ground. And I think my first big point there is, okay, West Kentucky's, obviously did not have the best run defense last year at all. let's see if they have it. Let's see if they have it this year. And so I think that my first key, the key of the game, Luke's key of the game, pound the rock. Like we're gonna have the advantage on the offensive when it comes to personnel, continuity, playing. It's the same guys, right? I mean, maybe there's a little bit of a difference in where they're lining up. Going to be a lot of the same guys. Bro, let's run that ball. Let's run the ball and see if Western Kentucky can stop us. And Hunter Watson, let him use his legs. Like, I think this is a game where Hunter Watson's going to run for probably 70 yards or more, I think, in this game. I think this is one of those spots where we're going to need to lean on the run to open up that pass. I think this is a big game. Like I said, I think for the DBs. So I think it's keep everything in front of you on the back end. Just because we know McIver is a talented arm, right? Like, we know what he's going to try to do. We know what we've seen from Abilene Christian. He's going to put up a ton of stats and look really good. Make him earn it, right? I think that's the main thing. Make him, don't give up that deep shot. Make him dink it all the way down the field, because at some point I think there's going to be a mistake or two made by a first-time starter in a G5 or G4, whatever you want to say, conference, right? So I think make McIver earn the win. Make him like pretty much play his butt off. And for us, we got to run that ball, Colin. I mean, we got to run the ball down their throats just like last year and give them flashbacks.
So you stole my key to the game for the offense. So I'm gonna have to come up with a cliche one, but something that I've liked to hear what Longo has said before is that if they can't throw the football 40 times, they're not going to throw the football 40 times. If they're not going to be able to run the football 30 times, they're not going to run the football 30 times. What excites me a little bit about Longo is that he is willing to adjust to the opponent. Now, I don't know how it's going to work now that he's that coach, but basically what I'm saying here, my key to the game is do your best with the adjustments, because as much as Western Kentucky doesn't know about Sam Houston and what they're possibly going to bring, then again, they might. Sam Houston is kind of in the same situation with Western Kentucky. Now, they have the advantage. Now, Sam Houston has the advantage of like having all this film on McIver when he was at Abilene Christian with his head coach, with his offensive coordinator, and quarterback coach. So they can look at that. But if you're Western Kentucky, how are you going to exactly analyze Hunter Watson if he is the starter coming in with this Longo offense? It's going to be unpredictable. It's not going to be as predictable as last year's offense. I'll say that, because last year's offense got predictable down to the end. And I mean, they were able to win a couple of games, Liberty and Georgia Southern.
FIU.
Yes, FIU. Anyway, that's
Run
last year.
left or run right. Colin, one thing it's also fair to mention on the offensive side. Last year, Sam Houston was very methodical in the way they would approach games down the stretch. Like, at first it was quick movements, against Rice and Hawaii and Texas State. They were going quick, they were running fast. And then as the season progressed on, it's like they kind of slowed down. I wonder, obviously, like, Longo's going to want to go quick. Is there going to be an adjustment made on that side too, right? If you have a couple quick 3 and outs right out of nowhere in that first quarter, is Longo going to, blink and say, you know what, let's change it up? Or is he going to keep, with that, his philosophy and wanting to keep going, right? And keep the pace up, right? So that is another thing to like see, like, okay, this early on in the season, how is he going to deviate, of how quick he wants to go?
Yeah. Also, another key for the offense, I think, is going to be shock and awe. start quickly, just like you did against Rice last year. What Sam Houston did against Rice last year, get 14 points in like literally 30 seconds. Got that Hunter Watson touchdown pass to Quavis Humphreys and a pick six by David Fisher, who's no longer here at Sam Houston. But I think that spoke a lot because a lot of people were riding Rice heading into that game, and the Rice were 9.5-point favorites going into that game. And guess what this year, Luke? Sam Houston are 10.5-point dogs. So a point difference, really. So if
both away games.
Yeah, and so if Sam Houston can start strong, that will be an massive because one thing you can do by doing that, Luke, not just shatter the confidence of Western Kentucky, but also take that crowd out of it. And on the defensive side is simple: execute and block out the noise. Execute, block out the noise, do your thing. And I'm not confident right now, Luke, to make a prediction scoring wise. I will say that. So I'm going to refrain from doing it.
Howard. Let's see. I will make a prediction.
Okay, that's fine. Go right ahead.
First of all, I love the over.
I
love the over in this spot.
16.5 points. I would hammer that too.
I think we're going to look at a week 0 offensive showdown. I'm looking at these reports, the two deeps, in quotes. I'm looking at one side replacing a ton of production. I'm looking at the other side that was super hit and miss last year, and it could not stop the run at all. So I think there's going to be some points in this one. I'm going to say, gosh, I hate saying this. I think Western Kentucky's going to win this one.
Okay.
38-34. I think Sam Houston closes the gap late in this game, has a chance to score, and cannot convert in a last 2-minute drive down the stretch. I think that's what we're looking at in the first game of the Longo era. I think we start 0-1.
Well, because you said that, and you called me a coward, we'll go ahead and make my prediction. Let's say Sam Houston wins a close one. It's going to be a close game. Okay? You with me now? Okay? I know I'm doing my best Bill Parcells impression. Okay?
Okay.
Give me Sam Houston Bearcats win it 40-37.
Oh, and who kicks the game-winning field goal? We got 3 kickers right now on the depth chart.
RJ Lopez.
RJ Lopez.
This game I already know this, Luke, and about special teams. This could come down to a field goal. Okay? So, knock me for my prediction. I don't care. It might change when Saturday comes, but for some reason, and honestly, one of the reasons is because you went against Sam Houston. That means I have to go for Sam Houston. Usually how it works. It worked last year against Rice, if you remember. You went against Sam Houston against Rice. I went with Sam Houston against Rice. And we saw what happened. So give me the Cats, baby. Two things. God and the Cats.
Cats will cover. I believe the Cats will cover the 10.5. As of right now, I think it is still at that. Correction, Colin, if it is that's correct, right?
Yeah, it's at 10.5 still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The line hasn't moved. I would suspect it to some late money maybe going on West Kentucky as
to cover it?
Maybe to get up to 11, I think. But I think I'd still take the 10.5. 61.5 now is the
40-37.
over-under. So
40-37. I don't know about that anymore.
yeah, no.
It's either going to be 40-37 or like 21-17 score or some.
It could be an absolute barn burner. It could be like a 20-17 game, and you just don't see much.
No, look, this is why.
It could be that too. Don't say that, Colin. Don't say that. We want to see points.
This
we want
is
to see Longo score some points.
Yeah, but this is why I don't like doing score predictions, because my mind says one thing and then it completely changes the next, like literal second, as you just saw now.
Go with your gut. Go with your gut. Come on, Colin. God, the Cats. You're rolling with the Cats. Roll with them.
No, I'm going with the Cats. I'm just thinking about the score.
90-0.
31-27. I'm gonna go with that. Cats.
Okay.
Win.
You want to make a little bet?
What are you proposing?
If Christian Pavon is the kickoff man, how many kicks out of bounds?
Anyway, that will do it for us here on Sam Houston Sports Talk. That's Luke Scott. I'm Colin Neal. Thank you all once again so much for 250 subscribers on YouTube. Oh man, it's really awesome. It's really awesome to see that once again, Luke. I'm pretty
Got some
amped.
chills. Got a little chilly in here.
Hey, you know what they say? It can only go up from here. Guys, have a great rest of your week. Be safe, because we want you to be watching the Bearkats against the Hilltoppers at Bowling Green, Kentucky, 6 p.m. Central Time on CBS Sports Network. As always, guys, eat 'em up, Cats. Like and subscribe. And it's football time, baby. Are you ready for some football?
Eat 'em up, Cats.